All right, now I want to show you something that's totally crazy. I've gone through and shown you what this process looks like. However, let's talk about just how significant of an impact incremental changes make throughout the entire process. Each stage, there's an opportunity for efficiency. And I did an example where I put in $20,000 in ad spend in 2 different models. So I'm spending $20,000, let's say, in a month. And here I used some numbers. So I said like a $50 lead on average cost of lead. And out of those, I said I converted 75% to appointments. Out of the 75% that I converted to appointments, 75 of those showed up. So I had a 75% show rate off of this number. And then I went to the amount closed. I said 33% closing rate, nothing crazy. Funding, I said that this is a very efficiently run company model I've done here. I said 95% funded. Then I said 99% of the ones funded got installed. And I said 90% of the installed jobs collected. I'm actually, it'd be better to switch these. I'm gonna say 85, and here I'm gonna say 95% collected. I'm gonna change it. I can do that pretty quickly here. All right, here's where things get crazy. In this second model, I dropped everything by 5%. So this is a company who consistently performs only 5% less efficiently. Okay, so instead of 55, I'm not gonna do all of these just for the sake of time, but instead of a $50 appointment, it was a $53, instead of a $50 lead, it was a $53 lead. Instead of a 75%, it was a 70%. So really a nominal difference at each level. And it's very common to find a company who might be anywhere from 10 to 80% on any one of these metrics. But if you have a company that consistently performs well across all of the elements, then you're gonna end up with a certain result. Now here's the crazy part. Off of this $20,000 ad spend, guess how much money in profit this company produced they had a $25,000 average sale and 55% margins, which is that's a nicely run home restoration company, okay? This company generated $783,186.68 off of $20,000. That is a very nice ROI. That is a very nicely run company, okay? It takes a lot. There are so many elements that go into making sure that you have excellence in every single one of these areas, and this is what I do for companies. Now, I just told you that I had a company I just dropped these all by 5%. Just a 5% less efficient company. Guess how much money that company generated? Right here. How much less does 5% result in across the board? Everything else, just 5% less. This company generated $420,290.64. That is wild. That is a company that is doing, off of a 5% less efficiency in each category, they are doing 53.66% of the business that this company is doing. Off of a 5% incremental difference. When I jump this up to 25%, a 25% less efficient company, this dropped to 7.61%. So in this company that was 25% off, for every $20,000 that they spent, they only produced $59,589. That is less than a tenth of the business this company produced off of a 25% efficiency drop. So what I do is I do an audit, and I charge a couple $1,000s for this. I come in and I look at people's companies, and we go through every single one of these sections, and I say, all right, what are you doing here that's good? What are you doing that's not great? What are the little things we can do differently? And what you find is big companies that run very efficiently, let's say I had one guy, they're running, say, $60 million a year. Let's say I charge them $3,000 or $5,000 to do the audit. Well, Where's the ROI on that? So easy. It's so easy. I'll put a money back guarantee on a $10,000 audit for a company that size easily. Why? Well, because if they do all of these things well, and they're not spending $20,000 a month if they're doing it correctly, you should be spending about 5 to 10%, they say, for a healthy company in the home services industry. You want to be running 5 to 10% of your revenue, your top line revenue, you should be putting into ad spend. That means that a $60 million company should be spending somewhere between $3 and $6 million a year on ad spend. Huge, huge numbers. These should be gigantic. This number should be gigantic, right? If all of these elements are dialed in properly. Now, they might be running half the average job size. They might be running a much lower margin. I'm not sure, right? But I got on a call with one of the sales reps, and I've mentioned this before, as it really stood out to me with this big company. They were running their sales or he was at least doing a sales presentation at the door. Nothing to show them, no presentation at all. He was just talking to them, right? And so if you think about it, that 5% difference on just on one category for one company, huge, huge implication, hundreds of thousands of dollars. So it's very easy for me to look at a very well-run company that does big numbers and look at them and say, hey, if we make this one change, it's gonna save you $200,000 a year. It might make you an extra $2 million in profit a year, right? There are all these little things we can do that are gonna make huge, huge, huge differences for these large companies. Now the smaller guys, my clients that are doing $2 to $10 million a year, a lot of the time they are not as efficient in these steps, right? They're lacking a couple of things throughout here. And so these numbers are all quite a bit lower, or at least they're not prepared to run these numbers at scale. So then what I do with those guys is I get on an hour-long call with them, and I've put together a list of 50 items that they can do to improve their company's processes and get these numbers where they want them. And so we want to be targeting to be this company and not this company right here.